Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Wagner. This is the 6th week for art class. This last week, we looked at a pumpkin. I have artificial pumpkins at school. They're a lot lighter to carry, so Mrs. Wagner purchased artificial ones. But if you have a pumpkin for the holidays and or you just have pumpkins for decorations to look at, we were drawing this pumpkin. We did the contour lines this last week on week 5. So you should have this much done. I want to talk to you about how to draw a shadow. We were going to be putting some lines partway up the pumpkin so that it looks like it's not sitting right on the edge of a table, that it's sitting like kind of in the middle. That gives the impression that it's not right on the edge. If you put the line up the image of the, up kind of up on the paper, not square on the bottom of the pumpkin. That gives that impression of sitting on a table. But when we talk about shadows, you need to know where your light source is. I'm sorry, my paper is very large. So, because we tried, when we're watercoloring, we tried to use bigger paper. I usually put a little arrow where I want to have my light. And I need to think where, if my light is on this side of my pumpkin, then my round pumpkin will leave a shadow in front of my pumpkin. And I will trace my pumpkin shadow a little bit darker. So it would be right at the bottom of the table where the table and the pumpkin meet, because that's, you could see the pumpkin would have a shadow back there, and in the front of the pumpkin. And this is just an oval shape. Because it's a round object, it usually makes a round shadow. We're just going to make an oval that kind of goes to the right. If the light source was from behind, then the shadow would be in front from both sides, would be even on both sides. If your light was from the right side of the paper, your shadow would be on the opposite side. So whichever side your light source is, your shadow will be on the other side of that object. We're just going to create a pencil line because we're going to watercolor. If you have watercolors, please use them. If you don't, Walmart really doesn't charge too much for their watercolors. I think if you get a Crayola brand, that's, I think it says 2X, it gives you a little more paint, and it should last most of the year with what, because we won't watercolor every project. What we're going to do is we're going to also talk about warm and cool colors. There's a video on this week 6 module. That's where I have this button for this recording. And usually I'll have, if I have examples, will be there too. And the quiz is in this module. At the top of the module, the very first item should be a video, a warm and cool video. I would like you to watch that warm and cool video before you start adding color to your pumpkin. We're going to make the background warm colors and your pumpkin warm colors. And we could do a little bit of cooler colors in the shadow. And if you want to pretend that the pumpkin is on grass, you could paint it green, because green is a cool color. Here are examples of the warm and cool colors. Cool colors are any color of blue, whether it's turquoise blue, indigo, navy blue. Blue is a cool color. Same with green. If it's a bright light green or a very dark green, they're all cool colors. Purple is cool, gray, and black. Now there are such things as like a red violet, but because it says red first, it means there's more red in it. So that would be a warm color. Warm colors would be different shades of red and yellow. You sometimes will get yellow orange, pink, red oranges, red. There's a lot of different warms that I don't have listed here, but I just have these because these are markers. Please, remember this with the video. This should be a good reminder of what is warm and cool colors. So when you watercolor, you make sure that your tray has a little bit of water in it. I'm only gonna wet the orange, the yellow, and the red right now because I'm gonna do the background a little bit first and the pumpkin. I don't need any of these other colors because they're really cool colors. I'm gonna put it off to the side so I don't get it all over. When I'm wetting my brush, this is a large brush. This is it's a bamboo brush. I like how they feel when you're doing watercolors. You don't obviously have to have one of these, but drag a little bit of the extra water off of the bristles so that you don't have a big puddle. You want your paints to be wet, but you don't want it to be like you're painting just with water. You want enough water to collect some paint, but not have it so that you can't see color. I liked to put the crayons, use crayons to trace over our pencil lines, just because it helps to keep the color inside the area, and controlling how much water too. If you have a puddle on your brush, it's no matter what you do, it will be hard to stay inside the lines. So control how much water's on your brush. I need a tiny bit more water. My paint has gone dry, so I need a little more. Now, you don't have to just do plain orange. You could do red and add a little orange to it to come up with another color. It's like I made red orange. I need to get a little more red to there. They don't have to be perfectly blended and mixed. That's the fun of watercolors. I might add yellow, because yellow is a warm color. Pumpkins, these are your designs. The pumpkins could be striped. This yellow is nice and bright. Or if you prefer, your pumpkin can be all orange, or you could make it red orange. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and orange together to create a yellow orange. When it starts to dry up, go back for more. Remember, you can add a little bit more water so that it doesn't dry out. So I'm not going to continue painting. You get the idea. My pumpkin is warm colors. I want your background to also be warm colors. It does not have to be stripes. It could be, you can also erase your little arrow. This is going to bother me trying to paint over this because I will still see this arrow. So once I'm done with my shadow, I'm going to get rid of that arrow. So I'm going to add a little bit. Maybe I'll pretend that the sun is over here and it's really shining. I'm going to add a little more orange. And I want to blend. So I added a tiny bit of water, a little bit of water to my brush. Maybe add a little red. It's okay to blend them. You can create new colors on everything. The paper that I supply you will not be watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is very expensive. It's very thick. It's very wonderful if you're really a watercolor artist, but really it's just too expensive for the district to pay for this many students to get to experience that. If you ever get a chance to experience real watercolor paper, you can sometimes get it at Ollie's. They'll have like little books with watercolor. It's amazing. The paint does so many cool different things on a super watercolor paper. Like, it doesn't bleed into the paper as much. It kind of holds the paint really nicely. And it does warp a little bit because, you know, if you put water on paper, it's going to warp no matter what. But it's not quite as much as my paper, but this works. So I have part of my background done. And you see, I just blended a bunch of colors. They're kind of like blending together. My pumpkin is partially done. I can use brown because brown is a warm color. Black is not, but brown is a warm color. I could use brown on my stem if I prefer, or just make it another warm color like red or yellow. But finish painting your pumpkin and the background. Warm colors, the top part, this is going to be your sunset. The bottom, you can paint green You can even add a little tiny bit of blue to it, because sometimes it makes a real pretty color, like a turquoisey green blue. Create your own turquoise. Now your shadow is darker, so you could do blue with a little black, which darkens it. Because you, oops, I'm splashing. Gotta be careful, Mrs. Wagner. It's okay if you have these little spots that are not blending. Remember, I said this is watercolors. This is how they kind of work. And it's kind of a nice quality that watercolors have over using like a tempera paint or acrylic paints. So I've painted my shadow a darker color so it stands out from my grass. Whoops, put it in the wrong color. So there's my shadow. I will continue to make the grass green. But if you notice, this is cool colors. The bottom is going to be cool colors. The top is going to be warm colors. If you are in class and you missed today and you're just going, and you'll be back next week, we will also, when we're done painting those in class, we will paint another paper just with warm colors, because I want to play with something next week in class. So this you'll fill up with just warm colors. Remember the first three, the yellow, the red, and the orange are our warm colors in your watercolors. So from edge to edge, this is what we will do with this paper. When it dries next week, we will play with something else. I can't quite explain it. I would have to show it to you. So please enjoy yourself. If you possibly can, the students that are remote, please get yourself watercolors if that's possible. If not, you could do the same thing with crayons and colored pencils. Thank you very much. Enjoy.